So the story in the film and project that I'm going to talk about today is a video that I did for Ocean Conservancy. Has anyone here heard of Ocean Conservancy? Probably a lot of people here have heard of Ocean Conservancy. They had a growing interest in, I don't know if footprint's the right word, but at least having a presence in the Great Lakes, having a dedicated person and as a small team really looking at what the issues are affecting the Great Lakes and contributing to the More You NOAA campaign. They hired me because I know a lot of people around here that do Great Lakes oriented issues and focus on issues. So people in Wisconsin, people in Minnesota, people at NOAA. And we sort of started working together to kind of figure out like, well, if we want to have a presence in the Great Lakes, and we got the More You NOAA campaign, what are some stories, or what's a story we could tell that's going to put our name on it, but really talk about some of the important issues that are happening in the Great Lakes? And so all of these folks on here are going to benefit from the project that we're going to do. They wanted to establish a presence in the Great Lakes. They wanted to have a video that could be part of their More You NOAA campaign. And they wanted to promote the work of NOAA, to share with elected officials, share with the public, share with their already very large Ocean Conservancy audience. We started kind of thinking about like, well, what kind of story are we going to tell? Connected with GLERL. And we settled on telling the story of the NOAA buoy assets, assets of NOAA and their partners. And we're going to tell this story as a way for Ocean Conservancy to start tapping into the activities in the Great Lakes. When I do a video and when I work with a client, the most important thing is like, who are you communicating to? And in filmmaking and probably other types of storytelling, you kind of tier your audiences like primary, secondary, and tertiary. Our primary audience for this piece is elected officials, decision makers, and then people that are elected in the Great Lakes region, and then NOAA leadership and resource managers, and finally general public and stakeholders. We don't have a lot of money to put into boosting this sort of a thing on social media. There's going to be some organic aspects to that getting out to the public. So our audience, we're going to make a high quality piece, but our audience, our target audience, is actually relatively small. What was our approach? We're going to identify this audience, elected officials, NOAA leadership, general public, and stakeholders and consumers. So what do we know about these three audiences? This is what we're thinking. Well, elected officials. We're going to assume they probably don't know or think about or care a whole lot about buoys per se. Like, a buoy's nice, it's cute, pretty. Ed gave a great presentation on how attractive they can be yesterday here. But we're gonna assume that they're really not thinking about buoys per se on a regular basis. We do know that they're interested in what their constituents think. They're probably interested in the public health of their constituents, and they're probably interested in voters, right? Dollars and districts. So maybe that buoy might represent dollars and districts. Our secondary audience, NOAA leadership. So at the onset of this project, we didn't necessarily plan on NOAA doing anything with this video. This was really an Ocean Conservancy project. But probably because of my experience working with NOAA, I wanted the way and the messaging and the way we put this together to sort of also adhere to their guidelines. Meaning, if we're gonna show somebody on a boat, let's make sure they're wearing a hard hat when they walk under a crane. Things that NOAA would be concerned about, we were also concerned about. And messages NOAA might be concerned about, those are things that we were concerned about. We weren't gonna try and draw too far outside those lines, turn this into a lobbying piece per se, something they couldn't do anything with. So we wanted them, if they were gonna use this, we wanted them to have pride in the program, showcase NOAA in the Great Lakes, and brand awareness. We all know what NOAA is. The general public in the Great Lakes doesn't really know what NOAA is. So our third audience, maybe this is an opportunity for them to learn something about that. For the general public, we wanted to create a message that would help them relate and understand a problem. It would be for their benefit, bang for the buck. This is their tax dollars at work. And as a result of the system that we're going to show, we wanted to give them some peace of mind. So this is what we did. We told the story of the Cleveland water crisis. Now, I don't know if everyone refers to it as a crisis, but from a public relations standpoint, it was a crisis. We wanted to remind the audience of the stakes, and we wanted to put the buoy program and the modeling efforts that go along with it in the context of safe drinking water. So we're not going to talk about buoys and buoy science per se. We're going to talk about what those buoys are actually doing to prevent something from happening, like what happened in Cleveland, where they had hypoxic water coming into their intakes and yellow water coming out of people's taps. That's the story we're going to focus on. We're going to tell that story, and then we're going to slip people this sort of, I like to call this sort of Sesame Street for adults. We're going to tell this story, but then they're also going to be learning sort of their ABCs. They're going to, in this case, it's the science of what these buoys are doing and how it's benefiting them. One of the beautiful outcomes of this, again, this was Ocean Conservancy paying for this, but one of the beautiful outcomes of this was that it was going to be useful for a lot of people, a lot of different organizations. Limnotech, GLOS, Cleveland Water, obviously Ocean Conservancy, CIGLR. These were all sort of experts and people that we interviewed through the process of making this piece, because they're the ones doing the work. They're going to have this piece that highlights the work that they're doing. So we made this video, but then your script or your transcript for the video, the information that's in it can also become pieces of a blog, tweets, short clips, any number of ways you can sort of dissect this big banner thing that you've created and chop it into little bits and repurpose it, right? So for free, without asking for anything else, we're just letting these people, these organizations, these groups, share this video, talk about it, do what you want with it. And actually, let's coordinate on that so that we can have a broader impact. So these are the outcomes. We did an 8-minute video, and I'll tell you how you can find that. We did an 8-minute video titled Smart Buoys, Preventing a Great Lakes Drinking Water Crisis. Multiple short social media friendly clips. These are like little segments that we just kind of pull out of the video that are perfect for social media. Talked a little bit about the blogs and tweets, other ways to get those blogs and links out there. NOAA shared the video and the story on their homepage. This was a big deal for my client, Ocean Conservancy. This is not something I can promise at the onset. Oh, by the way, we're going to make a video on NOAA's homepage. It's going to, put it on their homepage for a week. I can't guarantee that, but that was a beautiful thing, meaning they liked it. Ocean Conservancy brought it to Capitol Hill along with my company, Great Lakes Outreach Media. So during Great Lakes Day for the Great Lakes Commission, I was actually filming for NOAA in California at the time. I sent some colleagues of mine out there to be with Ocean Conservancy and their lobbyists. They did hire lobbyists. And they went to the breakfast, and then they went in the congressional offices, met with staffers, brought an iPad, and talked about those issues. So they could see directly how the buoys, this science, is having a direct impact in districts like Cleveland, Toledo, Muskegon. They actually saw it physically. One of the things that I like to ask people is, how many staffers or congressional leaders do you know that read scientific reports? Probably not too many, but they can watch a 3-minute clip. Maybe you can even get them to watch an 8-minute video that explains all that and puts it in context and tells the human story of what's going on. That's how you can start to influence and affect people's thought process on something as otherwise benign as a buoy floating around in the water. So I put a couple quotes up here from happy customers. Adam was my main contact at Ocean Conservancy. He was with me during most of the shooting. They were thrilled with it. Brenda Culler from Cleveland Water, she was with us while we were filming in Cleveland. They're using this video all the time. They're showing it to city officials. They're showing it at large public events. When they go to conferences about water, they show this video. We chopped it into little pieces. They show that on their social media. They wrote a great blog. This was great for them. They were thrilled with this. And they were nervous about doing it. When you say, like, we want to talk to you about this problem you had, you know, that makes them a little nervous. But then when you add in there, like, we're going to talk about the problem you had and about how these buoys and these models are a result of that problem and how you're not going to let that problem happen again. And talking about the furtherance of such a program, like, they were pretty excited about that. But they were pretty nervous up until we actually showed them the final cut, and then they were like, this is good. We can use this. We could do something with this. So this video is not just talking about Great Lakes assets to people in the Great Lakes. People in Switzerland are seeing this video. Things I never planned on at the onset of this thing. So, final thoughts. Science doesn't exist in a vacuum. Scientists do great work. They're really great at focusing on things, you know, smaller. But we need to put that in context for the average person to understand. And that's what we did with this buoy video. And at the onset, Ocean Conservancy just kind of wanted to talk about those buoy assets. But I did some digging, and that's when I heard about the Cleveland water thing and the Toledo water crisis. And I was like, that's the story you really need to tell, because that explains why this science should be ongoing and keep taking place. And you know, every year we'll have version 2.0 and 3.0, and this system will get better, and that system will get better. And we need money and people and resources to do that. So science doesn't exist in a vacuum. Connect your story, as I just said, and give credit where it's due. So, you know, Cleveland Water is thrilled with the result of this project. But there are other people who had other organizations who could totally use this for their benefit. And it shows that collaboration. It shows that this isn't just one scientist sitting in their lab getting some sort of benefit out of this. This is a bunch of really smart people throughout the Great Lakes, private and public interests, all working together to make public safe. If anyone wants to get a hold of me, Great Lakes Outreach Media, that's my contact information. I appreciate you letting me be here. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of the conference.